Commander Vexthak leaned back in his ceremonial chair, all four of his arms crossed in what he believed was an intimidating display of authority. Around the Obsidian War table, his top advisors shuffled through holographic data streams, their facial tendrils twitching with barely contained excitement. "Gentlemen," Vexthak announced, his voice dripping with the kind of confidence that only comes from never having lost a war, "I present to you our next conquest. Planet designation, Earth." The hologram flickered to life, showing a blue and green marble spinning lazily in space. Admiral Krelon, whose species had evolved from something that looked like a praying mantis, had a particularly bad day, leaned forward with interest. "Sir, preliminary scans show the dominant species is, and I quote, absurdly fragile. Carbon-based, water-dependent, and their bone structure appears to be held together by sheer optimism and calcium." Vexthak's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Fascinating. What's their technological level?" "They still use chemical propulsion for space travel, Commander. They've barely left their own moon. Their most advanced weapons are still kinetic-based projectiles that use controlled explosions." The Admiral paused for effect. "They call them guns." The room erupted in chittering laughter. Lieutenant ZWXAR, the intelligence officer who had never seen actual combat and really should have kept his mouth shut, chimed in with his own analysis. "Their biology is laughably inefficient, sir. They require 8 hours of unconsciousness every rotation just to function. They can't even regenerate lost limbs. And get this, they're poisoned by their own planet's most common liquid if they drink too much of it. They call it ocean water. So we're looking at a species that's essentially already trying to kill itself," Vexthak mused, stroking his chin tendrils thoughtfully. "Excellent. How many battle cruisers should we allocate?" "For Earth, sir." Krelon pulled up casualty projections that had clearly been calculated by someone who had never met a human. "I'd recommend 3. Maybe 4 if you want to make it a training exercise for the new recruits." Vexthak waved a dismissive hand. 3 it is. Schedule the invasion for next rotation. I want this wrapped up before the Galactic Council's annual dinner. I refuse to miss the Andromedan ambassador's famous tentacle soufflé again. And just like that, with all the careful consideration one might give to choosing a lunch spot, the Xylothian Empire decided to invade Earth. Spoiler alert, they really should have done more research. 3 Xylothian battle cruisers dropped out of hyperspace above Earth with all the dramatic flair of a species that had watched too many of their own propaganda films. Their hulls gleamed menacingly in the sunlight, weapons arrays humming with enough power to glass a continent. It should have been terrifying. It would have been terrifying to literally any other species in the galaxy. Ambassador Krelon opened a channel to every communication device on Earth, his translator perfectly rendering his words into hundreds of languages simultaneously. He had given this speech 47 times before. It always worked. "Primitive inhabitants of Earth, I am Ambassador Krelon of the Xylothian Empire. Your world has been selected for immediate annexation. You have one of your planetary rotations to surrender unconditionally. Comply, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will make examples of your cities. This is your only warning." He closed the channel and settled back, waiting for the inevitable groveling response. Every species begged. Some offered tribute. Others tried negotiation. All of them eventually broke. At UN Defense Command in Geneva, General Maria Martinez stared at the screen, then at her staff, then back at the screen. She took a long sip of her coffee, the kind that was 90% caffeine and 10% war crimes. "Did this guy just threaten us on live television?" "Yes, ma'am," her communications officer replied, barely suppressing a grin. "And he thinks we're going to surrender in 24 hours? "Apparently, ma'am." Martinez cracked her knuckles. "Open a channel. All frequencies. I want everyone to hear this." When her face appeared on Krelon's screen, she was smiling. Not a friendly smile. The kind of smile that made the ambassador's tertiary heart skip a beat. "Hey there, space bugs. Thanks for the ultimatum. Really appreciate the effort. Here's our counteroffer. How about you turn those ships around, go home, and we pretend this embarrassing little visit never happened? Otherwise, we're going to have to introduce you to a proud human tradition we call finding out." She paused, her smile widening. "You guys have heard of finding out, right? It's what comes after something we do a lot of. We call it messing around." The channel flooded with responses from Earth. Not pleas for mercy. Not cries of terror. Memes. Thousands of memes. Images of aliens with mocking captions. Videos of humans doing increasingly stupid and dangerous stunts with the caption, "Wait till they see this." One particularly viral post showed a man fighting a kangaroo with the text, "We fight these for fun, bring it on." Krelon stared at his screen in complete bewilderment. Are they laughing at us? His communications officer, whose name was absolutely unpronounceable and who was currently having a crisis of faith in Xylothian military intelligence, nodded slowly. "Sir, one of them just sent us something called a GIF. It appears to be a small human waving and the text says, and I'm translating directly here, 'Come at me, bro.' What does that mean? I believe, sir, it's an invitation to commence hostilities." Krelon's mandibles hung open. In 47 conquests, across dozens of star systems, not a single species had ever responded to an invasion threat with what appeared to be enthusiastic consent. These humans are clearly too stupid to understand they're about to die, he decided, because the alternative was too disturbing to consider. Proceed with the invasion. Launch the first wave. "Oh, Krelon. You beautiful, naive fool," the Xylothian drop pods screamed through Earth's atmosphere like meteors of impending doom, their trajectory calculated by the Empire's finest military strategists. They had selected their landing zone with great care, a sparsely populated continent with minimal military infrastructure. The continent humans called Australia. This was their second mistake. Their first was coming to Earth at all. Squad leader Thraknor emerged from his pod, plasma rifle at the ready, scanning for threats. The landscape was oddly quiet. Dense vegetation surrounded them, the air thick with humidity and the sound of unfamiliar creatures. "Secure the perimeter," he ordered his unit of 12 elite warriors. "Remember, the natives are fragile. Avoid unnecessary casualties. We need some alive for the labor camps." That's when he heard it. A sound that would haunt his nightmares for years to come. A deep, resonating boom that seemed to vibrate through his exoskeleton. What was that? Private Zixik whispered, raising his weapon. The cassowary emerged from the brush like a dinosaur that had missed the extinction memo and was absolutely furious about it. 6 feet of prehistoric rage, crowned with a helmet that looked like it was designed by nature's most sadistic engineer, razor talons gleaming in the sunlight. "Is that one of the humans?" someone asked. The cassowary charged. What followed was later described in the official Xylothian after-action report as an unprovoked assault by unknown hostile megafauna. What actually happened was 12 trained alien soldiers, each equipped with enough firepower to level a building, running screaming from an angry bird. Thraknor retreated up a tree. This was also a mistake. The koala, which had been sleeping peacefully before having its branch invaded by a 4-armed alien, did what koalas do when disturbed. It attacked with the fury of a creature that spends 23 hours a day high on eucalyptus and was not about to let this interruption slide. "It's on my face. It's on my face." Thraknor shrieked, discovering that koalas have claws and absolutely zero chill. 3 kilometers away, Captain Jessica Chen of the Australian Defence Force watched the chaos unfold through her tactical binoculars and tried very hard not to laugh. She failed. "Ma'am, should we engage?" her sergeant asked, his voice trembling with suppressed amusement. "Let the wildlife soften them up first," Chen replied, checking her rifle. "Never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. Also, I think that cassowary is winning." When Chen's squad finally engaged, it was almost anticlimactic. The Xylothians, still recovering from their wildlife encounter and now thoroughly convinced that Earth's ecosystem was a deliberate biological weapon, barely had time to raise their plasma rifles. Chen's team used standard-issue rifles. Boring, primitive, kinetic weapons that any advanced civilization should have moved past centuries ago. Except these boring primitive weapons punched right through Xylothian energy shields like they weren't even there. Contact rear, one alien screamed as bullets tore through their formation. Back on the command ship, Krelon watched his vitals display with growing horror. How are they penetrating our shields? Those are kinetic projectiles. Simple metal pushed by chemical reactions. His tactical officer, who had a degree in advanced warfare from the Galactic Military Academy and was currently having an existential crisis, could only stare. Sir, I don't understand. Energy shields are designed to deflect energy weapons. These projectiles are moving at hypersonic speeds with pure kinetic force. The shields aren't designed to stop physical matter traveling that fast. Why would anyone still use such primitive weapons? Krelon demanded. Perhaps, sir, because they work. On the ground, Thraknor made a decision that would echo through Xylothian military history. He ordered a retreat. The first retreat in the Empire's 3,000-year military record. From 12 humans and several extremely aggressive animals, Chen watched them scramble back to their pods, shaking her head. Command, this is Delta Squad. Hostiles are withdrawing. Permission to pursue? Negative, Captain. Let them run. Something tells me they'll be back with friends. Chen grinned. Good. We'll give the emus time to mobilize. The Emergency War Council session had none of the smug confidence of the previous meeting. Commander Vexthak's tendrils drooped with what could only be described as existential exhaustion as he reviewed the intelligence reports flooding in from Earth. Someone please explain to me, he began, his voice dangerously quiet, how we lost an entire battalion to local fauna and 12 natives with primitive weapons. Intelligence Officer HFY, who was seriously reconsidering his career choices, pulled up the first report. Sir, it appears we may have underestimated several factors. Starting with human behavior under stress. They panicked? Quite the opposite, sir. They became more dangerous. HFY displayed footage of a human soldier taking fire while clutching a brown liquid in a paper cup. This warrior refused to take cover until he had secured this beverage. He then proceeded to eliminate 6 of our troops while drinking it. When we destroyed their supply depot containing this substance, they fought with what our field analysts described as unreasonable fury. What is it? A combat stimulant? Liquid armor? It's called coffee, sir. It's a recreational drink. Vexthak's primary brain hurt. His secondary brain wasn't doing much better. Admiral Krelon pulled up another file, his mandibles clicking nervously. We've also encountered what appears to be a subspecies of human from a region called Florida. Sir, these ones might actually be insane. The footage showed a human male wrestling what the database identified as an alligator, an apex predator from Earth's swamps, while intoxicated on something called beer. Another clip showed a different Florida human attempting to fight off arresting officers while high on bath salts and completely naked. Are these their elite warriors? Vexthak asked hopefully. Elite warriors he could understand. No, sir. These are classified as Florida men. They appear to have no formal military training. They're just like that. Just like what? Like that, sir. Chaotic. Unpredictable. Apparently, this one tried to pay for his fast food with an alligator. This one attacked a Xylothian scout with a lawn chair and a bag of oranges. The room fell silent as they processed this information. Lieutenant Kickstar from the Xenobiology department nervously approached the table. Commander, if I may. We've completed our revised analysis of human physiology, and the results are disturbing. More disturbing than suicide birds and recreational insanity? Considerably, sir. Kickstar pulled up a molecular scan. Humans possess a chemical compound called adrenaline. When threatened, injured, or sometimes just excited, their bodies flood with this substance, temporarily overriding pain receptors and increasing physical performance. A combat drug? Built into their biology? Yes, sir. But it gets worse. We've observed humans engaging in a behavior called jogging. They run, sometimes for hours, without being chased by predators. The council members exchanged horrified looks. They run for fun? Vexthak's voice cracked slightly. What kind of Deathworld produces a species that recreationally simulates fleeing from danger? Earth, sir. A Class 12 Deathworld, according to the revised classification. Everything there is trying to kill everything else. The humans are apex persistence hunters. They don't run fast. They just never stop running. ZYXR interrupted with another report, this one making his facial tendrils pale. Sir, we've also confirmed reports that humans have domesticated our war beasts. Within 48 hours of contact. Impossible. Those creatures are engineered for aggression. Tell that to this human, sir. The screen showed a young woman cuddling a creature designed to inspire terror, cooing at it in baby talk and calling it Mr. Wiggles. They also appear to run on spite, sir, Kickstar added quietly. We injured one soldier, shot him 3 times. Medical scanners confirmed significant damage. He looked at his wounds, said something about "'tis but a scratch," and eliminated 4 of our troops before accepting medical attention. What is "'tis"? We believe it's short for "it is," sir. He was downplaying having been shot. Multiple times. This appears to be normal human behavior. Vexthak slumped in his chair, all 4 arms hanging limp. Let me understand this correctly. We've invaded a planet of caffeinated, spite-fueled, adrenaline-addicted persistence hunters who treat mortal danger as a recreational activity and can befriend literally anything. That's the revised assessment, yes sir. And our casualties? 12% and climbing, sir. 12%. In less than 2 planetary rotations. Against a species that hadn't even left their own solar system, for the first time in his decorated military career, Commander Vexthak understood what fear felt like. Deploy the second wave, he ordered, because pride and military protocol demanded it. And somebody find out what else we don't know about these humans. Spoiler alert, it was a lot. The hack happened at 0300 hours Xylothian Standard Time. One moment, the fleet's communication systems were functioning normally. The next, every screen, every holocommunicator, every data pad simultaneously displayed an image of a cartoonish frog with the caption, "Feels good man." What is this? Krelon demanded, frantically trying to close the image. It wouldn't close. It multiplied, then the music started. Dubstep. Aggressive, bass-heavy, reality-warping dubstep that made the ship's hull vibrate in frequencies the Xylothian auditory system was definitely not designed to process. Several crew members immediately developed what the medical bay would later classify as aggressive tinnitus combined with existential confusion. Turn it off. Turn it off. Vexthak screamed, but it was too late. The humans had breached their firewalls, systems that had been considered impenetrable by galactic security standards, using what appeared to be nothing more than spite, energy drinks, and a truly alarming understanding of quantum encryption. The bombardment was relentless. Memes. Thousands upon thousands of memes. Images of cats demanding cheeseburgers. Videos of humans doing stupid dances. Something called a rickroll that played on loop for 3 hours straight. Every attempt to restore their systems was met with another wave of digital chaos. On TikTok, which had somehow become humanity's primary psychological warfare platform, videos went viral showing teenagers recreating Xylothian battle tactics with finger guns and making them look ridiculous. One video showed a girl doing a makeup tutorial while explaining how to disable alien body armor with household items. It had 40 million views in 6 hours. The civilian response was even worse than the military one. Twitter, that cursed hellscape of human opinion, had turned the invasion into a roasting session. Aliens really showed up with 3 ships like they're moving someone's couch, not invading a planet LMAO. These aliens got beaten by a cassowary. A bird. I'm crying. Imagine traveling light years just to get ratioed by Gen Z. The Xylothian Intelligence Division tried desperately to decode what they believed was sophisticated military communication. Lieutenant Kickstar had been assigned to crack the meaning behind repeated references to something called D's nuts. "Sir, I believe it's a reference to a tactical weak point in our armor configuration," he reported after 72 hours of analysis. Possibly related to their energy weapon systems. It was not. It was a joke. A stupid joke. And the humans had gotten an entire alien intelligence agency to spend 3 days analyzing it. Commander Vexthak sat in his quarters, watching his 4th cup of what humans called vodka, which he had confiscated from a human prisoner who found the whole situation hilarious. On his personal screen, a message board dedicated to the invasion showed humans making bets on how long the Xylothians would last. "They're not even taking us seriously," he muttered to himself. His communicator pinged. Another hack. This time, it was a live stream from someone named Engineer Carlos Rodriguez in Houston, Texas. Rodriguez was in his garage, surrounded by scavenged Xylothian technology, explaining to 3 million viewers exactly how their plasma rifles worked. So basically, these aliens don't understand basic heat dissipation, which is hilarious because this is literally freshman-level engineering. "Watch this, I'm gonna make it shoot faster." He did. It worked. And if you reverse the polarity here, you can charge your Tesla with it. Elon, bro, if you're watching, call me. Across the galaxy, other civilizations monitoring the invasion watched in stunned silence. The Andromedan Collective's intelligence director sent an urgent memo to his superiors: "The humans have weaponized their entire culture. Recommend we never, under any circumstances, make contact." The Rigelian Empire, which had been considering their own invasion of Earth, quietly deleted all related files and pretended they had never heard of the planet. Back on the flagship, Krelon received another notification. The humans had hacked their navigation systems and changed their fleet's designation from Conquest Armada Zeta 9 to the Clown Brigade. Every ship in the Galactic Council network could see it. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "they've also created what appears to be a satirical musical about our invasion. It's called SpongeBob SquarePants Meets Space Idiots. It's trending." Vexthak didn't even respond. He just poured another drink. The humans hadn't just hacked their systems. They had hacked their dignity. Dr. Amara Okonkwo stood in what used to be a Tesla factory in Nevada, surrounded by enough captured alien technology to make any xenoengineer's career, and absolutely no concern for proper research protocols. Her team had been given 72 hours to figure out Xylothian tech. They had done it in 60. "Okay, people, listen up," she announced, gesturing to what looked like a plasma rifle that had been messily welded to a M4 carbine. The aliens use contained magnetic fields to accelerate superheated plasma. It's actually embarrassingly simple once you ignore all their unnecessarily complicated safety features. "Doctor, is that duct tape?" her assistant asked, pointing to the obviously visible silver tape holding 2 alien components together. "It's speed tape, which is basically NASA-grade duct tape, so yes. And it works. Test fire in 3, 2, 1. The hybrid weapon discharged with a sound that was half gunshot, half science fiction sound effect. The target downrange didn't just get hit. It ceased to exist in any meaningful way. Beautiful. Start mass production. I want 1,000 of these by tomorrow. Doctor, that's impossible. So was reverse engineering alien technology in 3 days, and yet here we are. This is humanity's specialty. We don't do things the right way. We do them the fast way, and we figure out the right way later. Now move. 200 kilometers above Earth's surface, the space battle was not going according to Xylothian projections. Mainly because human projections involved significantly more chaos and improvisation than any tactical computer could calculate. Lieutenant Marcus "Hotshot" Harrison screamed through the orbital combat zone in what had started life as an F-35 Lightning II and was now something that would make aerospace engineers weep. Alien shield generators, ripped wholesale from a downed Xylothian fighter, had been bolted onto the fuselage with what the maintenance crew had officially logged as aggressive optimism and questionable welding. Hotshot to command, I have tone on bogey 3. Taking the shot. Hotshot, your aircraft is held together with hope and spite. You are not authorized for advanced maneuvers. Copy that, command. Performing advanced maneuver now. The missile, tipped with a warhead that was half human engineering and half alien power core, streaked toward the Xylothian corvette. The explosion was visible from the ground. Splash 1 Corvette. How you like that, space bugs? On the ground, the U.S. Navy was having the time of their lives. The railgun prototype that had been in development for 20 years and kept getting defunded had suddenly found new life. Mainly because some brilliant engineer had figured out that alien power cores could be wired directly into the firing mechanism. Did it violate several laws of physics? Probably. Did it work? Absolutely. The USS Zumwalt, a ship that had been called a boondoggle and a waste of taxpayer money, fired its newly retrofitted railgun. The tungsten projectile, accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed by alien technology and human stubbornness, punched through a Xylothian battle cruiser's shields like they were made of tissue paper, because apparently, when you combined alien power generation with human weapons philosophy of make it hit harder, you got results that terrified anyone with a basic understanding of proportional force. Commander Vexthak watched his fleet display with the growing horror of someone who had just realized they had not invaded a primitive world. They had poked a sleeping tiger. A caffeinated, spite-fueled tiger that was really good at improvising weapons. Sir, we've lost contact with battle groups 3, 7, and 12. The humans are using our own technology against us. How? We've only been here for 6 rotations. It takes our engineers months to adapt new technology. Sir, intercepted communications suggest they used something called duct tape and a philosophical approach best described as we will figure out if this kills us. A human fighter, definitely not designed for space combat and yet somehow doing it anyway, screamed past the flagship's viewport. Vexthak could see the pilot inside, giving him a gesture that required no translation. It was universally offensive. Sir, the human government is hailing us. General Martinez appeared on screen, and she was smiling. That terrible, terrible smile. Commander Vexthak, I believe. How's the invasion going? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're getting your butts handed to you by a species that's barely figured out interplanetary travel. This is impossible. You shouldn't be able to adapt our technology this quickly. Buddy, we once sent people to the moon using computers less powerful than a modern toaster. We invented the internet basically by accident. We turned social media into a weapon. Last week, a guy in Texas figured out how to charge his electric car with your plasma rifle. She leaned forward. We're humanity. Underestimating us is your last mistake, not your first. Vexthak looked at his casualty reports. 43%. In less than a week. Against a species the Galactic Council had rated as minimal threat. Retreat, he whispered. Sir? I said retreat. Get us out of this system now. For the second time in Xylothian history, their mighty fleet turned tail and ran. This time, it wasn't from a cassowary. It was from the terrifying realization that humans didn't follow the rules because they didn't know there were rules to follow, and that made them the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The Xylothian retreat was not the orderly, strategic withdrawal outlined in their military doctrine. It was a panicked scramble for the hyperspace jump points, with ships leaving behind equipment, wounded, and what remained of their dignity. Within hours, the survivors began talking. And in a galaxy connected by faster-than-light communication, word spread fast. The first accounts appeared on Galactic Net, the universe's premier information exchange, posted by shell-shocked Xylothian soldiers who needed someone, anyone, to understand what they had witnessed. They kept laughing while being shot at. Not nervous laughter. Genuine amusement. One of their warriors took plasma fire to the leg, looked down at it, and said, "Cool scar bro," before returning fire. What kind of species does that? Another post, this one from a medical officer, garnered 3 million views in an hour. "I treated a human prisoner of war. He had lost an arm. An arm." When I expressed concern, he quoted something from their historical records. "'Tis but a scratch," he said. "'Tis but a scratch." He had lost a primary limb and was making jokes about it. The Rigelian embassy's intelligence division, which had been quietly monitoring the situation, added their own observations. Human warfare doctrine appears to be based entirely on spite, improvisation, and something they call "hold my beer." We have visual confirmation of human civilians creating weapons from alien technology using adhesive tape and what they describe as vibes. The post that really got the galaxy's attention came from Private Zixik, who had survived the Australian landing. The wildlife. Nobody warned us about the wildlife. Their birds are armored. Their plants are poisonous. Their oceans are full of things that kill you in increasingly creative ways. And the humans? They live there. They evolved there. They chose to stay on that Deathworld when they developed space travel. What kind of insane species looks at a planet trying to murder them daily and says, "Yeah, this is fine, this is home"? The Galactic Council convened an emergency session within 26 standard hours of the Xylothian retreat. Representatives from 400 species gathered in the Grand Chamber, and for the first time in Council history, the meeting started with a moment of silence for the Xylothian Empire's shattered pride. Ambassador Trell9 of the Andromedan Collective spoke first, his voice modulator trembling. "I move that planet Earth, Sol System, be immediately classified as Category Omega. Hostile Deathworld. Do not engage under any circumstances." The motion passed unanimously. Not a single objection. Even species that had never agreed on anything before were united in their assessment. Humans were absolutely not worth the trouble. The star charts were updated within the hour. Earth's system now displayed a bright red warning beacon visible from 3 parsecs away. The text was simple and in every known galactic language. Warning, human space. Inhabitants unpredictable and potentially feral. Approach at own risk. Seriously. We mean it. They domesticated their apex predators for fun. On the council floor, the Xylothian representative, who had replaced Vexthak after the commander suffered what the medical report politely termed a comprehensive nervous breakdown, faced a barrage of questions. "Why didn't you warn us this could happen?" demanded the Betelgeusian delegate. "We didn't know. Our intelligence said they were primitive." "Your intelligence was wrong. They defeated you with tape." The irony was not lost on anyone watching. The mighty Xylothian Empire, conquerors of 47 worlds, brought low by a species that had welcomed the invasion with memes and coffee. The same species that had somehow turned their entire planet's culture into a weapon. The same species that ran for fun and thought injuries were inconvenient rather than incapacitating. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson: never underestimate a species crazy enough to live on a death world by choice. Earth was officially off limits. Not because humans had superior technology. Not because they had massive fleets or unstoppable armies, but because they were absolutely, certifiably, hilariously terrifying in ways no tactical computer could predict. And the best part? The humans didn't even know how terrifying they were. They just thought they were being normal. That, somehow, made it even worse. The Galactic Council chamber had never been quite so tense during what was supposed to be a routine session. Earth had been granted full membership with voting rights, a process that normally took decades but had been fast-tracked after the Council realized that having humans outside the official government structure was somehow more terrifying than having them inside it. General Martinez, now Ambassador Martinez, sat at Earth's designated seat, casually pouring hot sauce onto her meal while the Andromedan delegate discussed trade agreements. The smell alone was causing 3 nearby species to require medical attention. "Is that a chemical weapon?" whispered the Betelgeusian representative. "No, that's lunch," Martinez replied cheerfully, taking a bite that would have hospitalized most carbon-based life forms. "Want some?" The delegate declined so quickly he nearly fell out of his hover chair. The human diplomatic corps had quickly gained a reputation. Not for being difficult or unreasonable, but for being accidentally terrifying in the most mundane ways. They told jokes that other species nervously laughed at, not entirely sure if they were jokes or threats. They shared stories about Earth that sounded like horror movies to everyone else but were apparently just normal Tuesday activities. "So we're establishing defensive outposts in the Proxima and Alpha Centauri systems," the human military liaison announced during the security briefing. "You know, just in case. Just in case." The 2 most ominous words in the human language, according to the newly published Galactic Guide to Human Interaction, the guide, which had become a bestseller across 40 systems, included helpful tips such as, "If a human says hold my beer, evacuate the immediate area," and "Never assume human safety regulations are adequate for your species," and the most important one, "If a human smiles like that, just agree with whatever they're saying." Across the galaxy, former Commander Vexthak, now retired and living on a quiet agricultural world, had started a support group. It met weekly and was attended by military personnel from 6 different species, all of whom had made the mistake of underestimating Earth. "I still have nightmares about the cassowary," Thraknor admitted during a session. "I dream about the memes," another member whispered. "The endless memes." Vexthak nodded sympathetically. "The important thing is we survived. We learned. We grew." He paused. "And we never, ever go near that blue marble again." The group nodded in solemn agreement. Back at the council, the session was wrapping up when Ambassador Martinez raised her hand. "Oh, one more thing. We've been examining the warp drive technology from those ships you guys abandoned in our system. Really fascinating stuff. We've got some ideas about how to improve the efficiency by about 40%. Want to collaborate on that?" The chamber went silent. Every species present had the same thought: the humans had reverse-engineered warp technology in 6 months. Technology that had taken most civilizations centuries to develop. "That would be wonderful," the council chairman said weakly, "because what else could you say to a species that treated physics like a suggestion rather than a law?" And so, the galaxy learned to live with humans. They learned to laugh at human jokes, even when they didn't understand them. They learned to appreciate human coffee, even though it could strip paint. They learned to respect human ingenuity, even though it terrified them. Most importantly, they learned the fundamental rule that every species in the galaxy now taught their children: never invade Earth. Not because you can't win, but because even if you do, you'll never be the same. Somewhere in a bar on the edge of known space, a human merchant was explaining Earth sports to a group of fascinated aliens. "So you're telling me," one alien said slowly, "that humans invented a game where you hit each other with sticks while trying to get a frozen rubber disc into a net, and you do this on ice, which is slippery, and this is considered entertainment?" "Yeah, it's called hockey. You should see Australian football. Or American football. Or rugby." The alien took a long drink. "Your species is insane." The human grinned. "Yeah, we get that a lot." And really, what more was there to say?